It's about 11 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, April 7th, 2024, here in beautiful Northeast Texas, part of the Great Plains. And we're moving the cows to this is the second move of this row. The grass in that first section was really short, so I gave them a double section basically. And so this is a full section. I got to make up for it, so I stay on schedule. Well, I can probably go through this real quicker and just move it. What was that? Something just laying on the ground. Is that a grasshopper or something? A big bird poo. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Beautiful. There's a breeze blowing from the west. I've got Rammy here with me. He likes to ride in the side-by-side with us and do the chores. He's not very useful yet, but I'll train him. One day he'll be able to move the cows by himself. Oh my goodness. Look at that little chonker. Look at him just milking his mama dry, getting big and strong. That's what I want to see. So these calves, if you're wondering, they were born, most of them in February. So they're about 2 months old. Some of them a little later. I think one of them a little earlier. We had, oh gosh, I don't even know the number. The last number was 47. And we started at 26. So that's 22 calves that got tagged. One of them never was tagged. He was dead at birth. The mama couldn't deliver him. That's number one right here. Her birth canal was too small. Even though number one is almost 3 years old. She's just not fit to be a mama. I don't know exactly why. I just know it's not going to happen with her. So she's going to the sale barn next chance I get. 2 of the calves died. Beyond that one, they died, we think, or at least I think, it was injury. So the calves would like to lay in the hay, and I just had the hay in a big pile. And I think another cow just kicked the calf or stepped on it or something. So 2 of them died that way. And then one of them died shortly after birth. He was really small. His number 19 was the mom. Number 19 is like only 18 months old. Cows are supposed to be 2 years old before they give birth. So it was a young calf, very small calf, unable to stand on his own. I tried feeding colostrum and things like that, but the calf was dead a couple days later. I was able to get him to stand and walk, but I don't think he ever nursed on his mom. So that's the unfortunate part of farm life, is things are born and things die. It has to be that way. There's really no other way, unfortunately. That's just part of life. You know, death is life and life is death. And, you know, I try to do my best to keep my animals alive. And then the other part that, you know, doesn't apply to humans but does apply to animals is we kind of have a moral obligation to not allow the animals to suffer, you know. So if they're in a great deal of pain and there's no hope of healing them, we have to put them down sometimes. That's just the way it is. The other reality is we live here on the edge of nature. There are wild animals all around us. Our ancestors ascribed like demonic forces to the woods and the areas they didn't go. And I think they were talking about the sounds that they heard and the stories that they heard about the animals living in those places and how people would get lost or get hurt and killed by those animals. Wolves, of course, are probably the big bad thing that anybody with European ancestry is all too familiar with. The very name wolf should inspire fear in everybody that ever has a chance of meeting one. They look like dogs, but they are not dogs. So there's just something about them there. And then when you get a group of wolves together, a pack of wolves, that's dangerous territory, right? But more importantly, at least around here, and probably for most parts in America, is the coyote, okay? And people don't really understand why the coyote population's exploded like it has, but it has. One theory is that as the wolf can no longer survive in America because they just don't get along with humans at all. That the coyote population no longer had the wolves to keep them in check. And the coyotes, unlike the wolves, they do quite well living near humans. That's why even in urban areas, you'll hear coyotes howl at night in the streets of the city streets, you know. And I used to live in a suburb. We had a national park, no, a state park, really close by. And people would put up these little posters looking for their kitties and their puppies that got lost, you know. And I don't know if anybody had the heart to tell them that your puppy and kitty isn't lost. It was lunch. The coyotes came in at night and tore it to pieces, ate all the scraps, probably buried the bones, you know. But the coyotes are a big threat here. The raccoons, vultures, hawks, all kinds of things are out here just looking for a chance to get free lunch. I was raising chickens out in the open, and I was losing 1 or 2 a day to hawks. And I tried all kinds of things to keep the hawks at bay, but you know, it ended up being a wildlife feeding program. I was giving the chickens feed, and the chickens were feeding the hawks, you know. So that's why if I'm going to run chickens, I need complete cover. The guard goose didn't do much. The decoys didn't do much. The tarp doesn't do much. The hawks get in there anyway. They're too smart. The one thing the hawks won't do for some reason is hunt chickens that are in trees, right? So I have my chickens in the trees there. And as far as I know, the hawks aren't getting to them, but that doesn't stop the raccoons and other animals. Possums, I don't know if opossums are much of a predator. I'm sure they are, but different kinds of things out here. So that's the reality of farming, life and death. We have the big animals, then we have parasites. And parasites are always a problem. You can't get rid of them. My strategy for dealing with parasites is the twice daily moves for the cows, keeping the sheep moving as well. They can't spend more than 3 days on a piece of ground. Hopefully as the grass gets taller, the sheep won't have to graze near the ground, and so they won't be picking up parasites. But also leaving a piece of ground and not coming back for 6 weeks. You know, that should help keep the parasite population in check. Parasites aren't as big of a problem in dry climates, dry, arid climates, you know, hot, dry, like in West Texas. But here in Northeast Texas, we're basically part of the South. We get lots of rain, we get lots of heat, and that translates to lots of parasites. So I got St. Croix rams to breed with my sheep. Hopefully that'll keep the parasite count down with their genetics. But I'm not going to use chemicals. And that could be a big mistake. There's a good chance that I might lose all the sheep. But I'm going to try to keep my eye on them and try to... Ooh, you trying to say hi to this ram? Number 11? Yeah. But keeping multi-species grazing is supposed to help with the weed control. It's also supposed to help with the parasites. So that's my plan, my strategy. So anyway. And dogs. I keep dogs. And there's various people making accusations against me about my dogs. You know, when the puppies were born, they were surprised I didn't bring the dogs inside and, you know, give them a bath and let them sit by the fire. The dogs that I keep are not dogs for the inside of the house. They would probably go crazy inside of a house. They would tear it to pieces. These are dogs born and bred to be outside. They bond with the animals. They think of the animals as their own, for better or for worse. They will bark at anything that makes a noise at night. They will hunt. There's a couple stories I've heard from these kinds of dogs. I've heard stories of, like, you know, the farmer coming back the next day and the dog's got a few scratches, and then there's basically the carcass of a coyote, right? And the dog will be quite proud of its kill, you know. I've heard stories of these dogs taking on wolves, taking on other things, bears. My friend has a story where the dog disappeared for a few days. They're like, oh, that's weird, you know. And then a couple days later, the dog comes back carrying the hind quarter of a deer, just carrying it. Like, it was his prize or something. So I guess either the dog found a dying deer or killed the deer himself, which would be a pretty impressive feat. But regardless, they didn't have to buy dog food for a few days, you know. So yeah, these dogs, they look nice, and they're quite friendly with their owners and their masters. But if you're not the owner and you intrude on the land, they can flip a switch and you'll be dog meat. You know, I'll come to the land and I'll see a pile of clothing, bloody clothing, and some bones, you know. So they're not dogs that you reason with. They're dogs that have two modes. One mode is super happy friendly, and the other mode is death. Is killing machine, right? So, and that's what they're here for. If they didn't do that, I wouldn't have them. You know, that's what I need them for, is to keep the coyotes out, keep the raccoons out, keep the possums out, even chase the hawks away, you know. So that's what I have the dogs for. And I know a lot of you have formed like a human-like bond with your dog, but it doesn't matter how much breeding your dog has been. A dog is an animal, you know, it's not a human. And I know that we like to assign human attributes to things, you know. We talk to our coffee machine sometimes, but dogs are not humans. They bond with humans. They might think they're humans, you might think they're humans, but they're not. They're dogs, and you have to respect that. All right, guys, have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.